everyone. Welcome. It looks like some folks are still being let in, so we'll just wait a minute or so to the screen stops moving. All right. It seems to have settled down, at least this window. So hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for being here. My name is Alin Barrera, and I'm the program director for the PhD program. Really glad for you to be here. We have several faculty and other directors of the program, as well as some of our clinics internal to our university. And what we thought we would do today is we really just wanted applicants and interested students or future applicants to get an opportunity to learn about it and ask questions from some of our faculty. So today is sort of a meet and greet Q&A, really informal, an opportunity for you to ask questions. I'm going to be monitoring the chat in case you have questions about the program, but I also wanted to let you know that we do have 2 other events planned in the future. So on March 10th at the same time, in the same way that you signed up for this one, we will have other faculty who will be joining in, and I'll put in the names of those faculty in the chat so that you have that in case you're specifically interested in someone. And then on March 19th, we'll have a more general PhD program info session where some of our faculty and some of our clinic directors will also join us. Very small, fewer faculty will join there. It's more geared towards giving you an overview of the PhD program, which you're all welcome to attend either one of those. So again, same way you signed up for today, it's on at the same time, and I'll put those details in the chat for you. So I think what I'll do just to start it off is to ask our faculty and directors to introduce themselves briefly. I'll popcorn it to one person, and then please feel free to popcorn it to another person, another faculty member, and then we will open it up for questions. So I'm going to start off with Dr. Arnaud, who's our Director of Clinical Training.
Sorry, I should have been ready to unmute. Hi, everybody. My name is Geneviève Arnaud, and I'm the Director of Clinical Training for the program. I do not have a lab, unlike the other faculty you're going to hear from. I oversee primarily the internship training of the students. That's that last full year that students, all students in doctoral programs in the US and Canada complete. And then I also assist with practicum, which is the clinical training that students undergo while they're taking classes and dissertations. So I'm happy to answer any questions about clinical training. And I am going to popcorn it to Matt Cordova because he's next on my screen.
Hi, my name is Matt. I use he, him pronouns. I am a faculty member. I've been at PAU since about 2003, and I have a couple of different hats I wear. I'm involved in trauma-related work and also health psychology related work. So I have a lab that is called the Early Intervention Clinic, but it's really a research lab where we train students to do research and clinical work with recent trauma survivors. And then I also am the area of emphasis director for the health psychology area of emphasis. So I teach 3 classes, one on provider wellness, and then a couple of different health psychology classes in that context. So yeah, I'm super interested in the interface of health problems and trauma, and happy to answer questions. I am going to popcorn to Mikhail.
Hi, everyone. Mikhail Rubin. So I'm an assistant professor. I've been at PA for about 4 years. I mostly teach statistics and research methods. But I also am going to start teaching an exposure therapy course, which is a good transition to what my lab does. So it's a transdiagnostic intervention lab focused a lot on a range of anxiety disorders, but also trauma. And so so I'm starting to also supervise a supplemental practicum where students are doing structured clinical interviews and exposure-based interventions. One project we're excited about that we're about to get started is using the Apple Vision Pro to do exposure therapy with this kind of fancy augmented reality stuff. And then the other big project we have going on is students are doing structured clinical interviews, and we're seeing how that compares to a chatbot for kind of diagnostic assessment. I will popcorn it off to Dr. Palzer.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Eleanor Pulser. I'm also an assistant professor in the department. I've been here, I think, about a year and a half now, so quite recent. Um, I direct my lab. It's called the Affective Development Lab, and the focus of our lab is studying mental health in neurodevelopmental conditions across the lifespan. One study that we're particularly excited that's launching this week is our yoga randomized control trial for autistic youth. And that's where we're testing whether doing yoga is effective at improving anxiety symptoms in autistic children and adolescents, as well as other things like gastrointestinal symptoms that seem to plague this population. I'm also the director of the Pediatric Behavioral Health emphasis at PAU. So I teach a lot of the child development courses. I would meet all of you if you were to come in the first year, where I teach a 5-week primer on child and adolescent development. And my goal for that class is I get more hands up at the end of the course on who's interested in children and adolescents than at the beginning. And to date, there have been more hands. So that's a success story. All right, so that's me. I will pass it on to Dr. Schultz.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So my name is Tillmann Schulte. Originally, I'm from Germany, so a little bit of German accent. So I'm the chair of the psychology program, but in Campus, the MS as a PhD and the PsyD. So I have also a lab which is interested in more clinical and cognitive neuroscience. So we are focusing on adolescents. So we have a large study about using ABCD data, so adolescents' brain cognitive development, and we are producing a lot of interesting research about this, from bilingualism to mental health issues of autism to social anxiety. But I also got from NIH a grant, which is related to aging, HIV, and Parkinson, which I work collaborative with Stanford Neurology Department. And so that's my background, and everyone is welcome to follow up with any kind of questions. And I go to the next person, Luke.
I think we're going to start with faculty and clinic directors. So I'll just popcorn it for you, Dr. Schulte.
Patient.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Peijun Cai. I'm an associate professor in psychology department, and I direct my lab called Strength Lab. So my lab focus on examining like the protective factor or like moderators for how to cope with different kind of adversities and its correlation to the mental health outcome. So my current project, my students are like engaging like mainly two projects. One is about Asian American young adults and how a cultural relative family distancing is related to the mental health outcome, and we are examining about the coping resources. And the second project is related to trainee psychotherapists in training their imposter feelings and the anxiety in clinical session, and how is that related to their self-advocacy in conducting their clinical work. And I teach intellectual assessment mainly. So that's me. So I will popcorn to Dr. Robia.
Thank you. Maybe before I can introduce myself, maybe Dr. Richards, he's the clinic director, and then I'll go and follow after him.
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, I'm Dr. Michael Richards. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the director of the clinics at PAU. And I've been in this role for 3 years. I've been a supervisor before that. I'm actually an alum of the PhD program, so I was in a spot not too dissimilar from many of you. Oh gosh, 14 years ago. But yeah, that's kind of my role at the university, and yeah, I work with Dr. Revia and our other directors at the clinics. So I'll go ahead and popcorn it back to Dr. Revia.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Elizabeth Revilla. I've been at the clinic a little bit longer, for maybe 11 years almost, and I'm the director of one of the specialty clinics, which is Clínica Latina. And yeah, and if you have questions, I can share more about Clínica Latina and what we do in our second year. The students do a year of training, and so if we can talk more about that as if you have questions.
Great, thank you.
I don't know if they still have more.
I think that's all of the faculty and
Okay,
clinic
perfect.
directors. Great, thank
Perfect.
you, Dr. Revilla. So I will put in the chat just a link to the faculty-led labs in case you want to follow up or get more details, or if you missed anything that any of our faculty said, you can see a description of all of the labs that are led by faculty, many of whom are not here today. And in a second, I'll put in the link to the clinic. So I want to open it up for any questions that any of you might have about anything related to the PhD program, or specifically to any of the folks that are here representing the program. Okay, Connor?
Hey, how's it going? My name's Connor. I go by he, him pronouns. Just wondering, with getting involved and getting started in the labs, with whatever lab or research lab that you end up going into, is it normal for students to get started with like an existing project within the lab, or are you encouraged to like kind of develop your own place within the lab or own line within the lab, like right off the bat?
Yeah, I can answer generally, and if any faculty want to pipe in here, please feel free to do so. It really depends on the faculty advisor or the director of that particular lab. Some faculty are really open to exploring with students the topics or areas within their research program that they're interested in. Others might have you start off with something that the faculty is leading as part of their program of research. So it can really depend on who you're working with, and I would imagine also the stage of the research that the faculty is also leading might influence where they might encourage you or support you to go in that direction. Dr. Schulte, you raised your hand. I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, so I mean, you're absolutely right. So it depends on the faculty and the research focus, but I can only tell or share what I do lately. So there are also very first years who joined my lab, and because of the data set it's available, they already started writing abstracts and worked on projects right from the get-go and within the lab. So they had the ability to, if they are interested in this field, and that was in this case adolescents. So, but again, it's not a must. So you have also the chance to look at it and also develop your own ideas. And so we are very open to this too.
Great. Okay. Justin, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. My question is about research experience. I am just about finished with my bachelor's in psychology, and I didn't get the opportunity for any research. So I'm looking at jobs, and I was wondering if there's applicable work experience that could fill in for research experience, and what are the goals of that experience that I should look for in work experience if that applies?
I would say that a lot of, I think other applicants in your position, you can actually obtain a research assistant job, where you're sort of gaining skills on the job, right? So you're doing research, learning skills, and you're working in research to gain the experience to make you, to help sort of bolster your experience when you're applying to graduate school. So I think a lot of applicants do that, while undergraduate or in between or post-baccalaureate phase before going to graduate school. And I think it's a really great way to expose you to what the ins and outs of research and what it might be like and whether you like it. And what you're actually studying or researching as a research assistant isn't as critical as it is to have the experience of having done research. I don't know if others want to add to that, but that would be one really targeted way to get research experience, is to work on a research project, whether a volunteer or a paid position. There's often, there isn't always paid positions, but that would be one way. Okay, Teresa.
Hi, everybody. Great to meet everyone. I was wondering if you guys could speak to what the training and mentorship looks like at PAU for applying for grants, and if students are encouraged to apply for external grants, like an F-31, for instance.
I'm going to ask one of my colleagues to maybe chime in, so you're not just hearing from me, get different perspectives. Maybe Dr. Rubin, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I'm happy to
Yeah.
talk about that. Because I did get an F-31 while I was in graduate school. It's tricky with the timeline at PAU. I think because you join a lab your second year, it can be a little bit challenging. But I will also say I have a specific grant from NIMH right now that is intended to help kind of like facilitate training of the research and development of the research environment. So I think there's definitely space for that. There's a lot of work with foundation grants and APA grants, and those are really successful at PAU. I think other faculty know more about that. But from like a sort of federal funding side, it's both complicated, but also I think there are increasing opportunities.
Great, thank you. Desmond?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me pretty well?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for having this webinar for us today. I have two questions. The first question I did have was, what type of practicum opportunities are offered, more specifically for those who are interested in clinical neuropsychology? The second question I do have is, on average, how successful are students in at PAU in receiving internship placements?
It's an excellent question for
It's
our
a great
director
question.
of
I'm
clinical
happy to
training.
talk about that. One of the great things about coming to school in the Bay Area, the California Bay Area, is that we have something called BAPIC here, which is the Bay Area Practicum Information Collaborative. It's this group of about 9 or 10 doctoral programs and scores of agencies. Students apply through a central program called I remember the BAPIC Match program. They interview at agencies, and then both the sites and the students rank their preferences, and there's a computer match. Now that's for external placements, which begin in the 3rd year of the program. Prior to that, we have a fantastic clinic that Dr. Richards and Dr. Ravia can talk about. And then we also have some students go to a Kaiser 1st year placement. But in terms of the external placements, we have a huge variety. We do have neuropsych sites, a lot of VA sites, hospital sites, correctional sites, college counseling sites, and so forth. And the PAU PhD students are quite competitive for those. Unlike all the other schools, PAU does have some captive sites at the Palo Alto VA for external practicum placements. So there is an advantage to being in the PAU, either in the PsyD or the PhD program. With respect to internship placement, if you look on our website, you'll see that students have been very successful at matching at internship sites. We have anywhere from 92 to 99% internship match every year. And in most cases, we have 95 to 100% of those are APA accredited. So do check out the website of any school you're applying to, because those are important statistics to look at. Dr. Richards, do you want to add anything about the clinic?
Yeah, I think one thing I just always want to mention is that the clinics at PAU, which sometimes you may still see referred to as the Gronowski Center, which was our name until a year or two ago, but we're really designed to provide a solid generalist training, but also have our specialty clinics and really building on the foundations that help people be really successful in terms of their more specialized later external experiences. So I saw there was a question in the chat and just want to highlight that, if you don't have direct clinical experience, you've never seen a client before, we're totally prepared for that and kind of expect that. Some students do come in with great clinical experience, and we, support them as well in terms of building on their interest areas and which kind of clients they want to work with. But yeah, we're really designed to set that foundation of building core skills in building a therapeutic relationship, managing risk and safety, and kind of establishing basic intervention skills. So that's why we kind of have our in-house training clinic, and I think it's just speaking as a former student, it's one of my favorite parts of the PhD program was being able to have that kind of scaffolded entry into clinical work. So, yeah.
Thank you both. Sonia?
Hi, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate you guys your time. I guess my question is really for Dr. Arnaud, because she's my forensic gal. I'm very interested in working with Dr. Phaneuf, but she's not here. So my question is, do students typically develop their dissertation topics, or, do they build on the existing lab projects, or do they develop independent lines of research specifically, I guess?
Well, first of all, even though I don't have a lab, I'm always happy to talk forensics. So thanks for calling that out. Both Dr. Weaver and Dr. Phaneuf are fantastic. They're just amazing forensic researchers. And we do also have once in a while an external researcher that students can work with. With respect to those labs, most of the students tend to work on projects that the faculty are doing, both in Dr. Weaver and Dr. Phaneuf's lab. With that being said, students can find a niche within those projects that's really more to their liking. So you don't come in and you're not just handed a project and they say, here, do this. But both of those faculty will work with students to develop something that they are interested in. Dr. Brewer, do you want to say anything more about that? Because I don't want to misspeak for other faculty.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And I think that also one of the aspects of our program that I really appreciate from a student perspective is that often faculty will collaborate to support a student project, which is a really nice way to both expand our own research programs, but also to support the students if they have a niche area within, that particular faculty member's research program. So that's also a nice way to begin to shape what your research training might look like. So it's more tailored to some degree as allowable, given that, you are only here for a few years, to what you would like to do in the long term. So I don't know if any of the other faculty would like to add anything, since you all have labs as well. Okay, great. Thank you, Sonia, for your question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tatum?
Yes, thank you so much for having this. As a recent graduate with a bachelor's and currently volunteering for 2 labs, I just had a question on what qualities you look for in students who thrive in your lab and any advice you'd like to give to students preparing to join.
It's a great question. Do any of the faculty want to chime in on that one? I mean, I'll just say generally, we're looking for students that do have some research experience and some clinical experience, given that your training will be comprised of that. And we want to feel confident that you know what you're getting into to some degree. And I think in terms of what we're looking for someone who thrives, I think it really depends on the work that you want to do and the faculty. But I think students that are really open to learning and expanding their skills in both of those areas, especially if you have a background in any of those areas, we might be a different way to do that work. And so we're really wanting you to lean into learning new skills and having new experiences. But I'd like to invite any of the other faculty who might want to answer that from their perspective.
I can chime in on that. Yeah, I think some really important qualities or things I look for are sort of a curiosity, it's a PhD. It's great to see that you want to contribute to the knowledge base in some way. And so that kind of curiosity and passion is something I really look for. And then as well is teamwork. So as a lab, we do some quite intensive data collection where we have a bunch of kids coming in and it's all hands on deck, and being able to communicate with each other very easily and quickly is imperative for that, right? To keep it running smoothly. And so that, as well as the specific requirement for my lab that you kind of like and have experience working with children, are what I look for.
Okay, great. Thank you. Annabelle?
Thank you all so much for being here. I had a question, maybe Dr. Rabia you could address. I was wondering how through La Clínica Latina and also the program in general, how faculty support students looking to gain clinical training and supervision in Spanish, with Spanish-speaking supervisors.
Great, thank you, Anabela. Clinical, the general clinic has two specialty clinic. One is the sexual and gender identity clinic, and the other one is Clínica Latina. And a Clínica Latina, the purpose, of course, of all the clinics at PAU is to be a community mental health kind of sort of service site, but also to really, really help. It's a training for the second year PsyD and PhD students. And of course, we serve a variety of clients here in the Bay Area. Specifically, Clínica Latina serves a little bit of the entire spectrum from recent immigrants to first and second generation Latinos. So we do have people that are really they need to have Spanish speaking services, but also we have some other clients that are bilingual and prefer, or they can go back and forth English, Spanish. So what we really focus on and on the training is to really we have individual supervision, group supervision, and the training emphasizes a lot of self-awareness and reflective practice, of course, cultural competence and humility, and also clinical skill development. And we do that, as I mentioned, primarily through supervision, and group supervision is an amazing place to learn and to, when people were talking about what makes a student at PAU successful, I can see on the clinical side how they are going through the labs and going through also so many, and it's just, flexibility and adaptability and also motivation and passion. Those are things that are really super helpful for students, because you have to do all your research work, academic work, and then work with clients, in your second years. And it's you need to use so many areas of your brain to do so many different things. So I'm not sure, Annabella, I answered all the questions. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, that was very helpful. Thank you.
sure. Thank you.
Yeah. One thing I would just add there also is I believe Dr. Marta Hernandez, who's another one of our supervisors in Clinical Latina, teaches a class on Spanish language for clinicians also, which can be a really great class to take to, for folks who are trying to get into that slightly more technical world of, terminology and things like that. So that's also, I know, something that's been a really nice opportunity for students interested in providing Spanish language services as well.
Great. Thank you both. Alexandra?
Hi, everybody. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to contribute to more than one lab at once, and if so, how I would go about doing that.
I think the opportunities are likely there, but it might be challenging to fit it all in, because during your second year, when you begin in labs, you're also beginning at the clinics as well, in addition to continuing with your coursework. So I think that's sort of the general response to that. But I think it also depends, right, in terms of the role that you'll be playing in the lab that you're matched with, as well as the opportunities that might be available in other labs. But I would say that a majority of our students really dedicate themselves to one particular lab, because it ends up being a lot of work that might be overwhelming and maybe not very manageable. I don't know if other faculty have other perspectives or examples that they might want to give. Okay.
I can chip in very quickly. So
Yeah.
I think there are some students who are interested, for example, in neuropsychology and in forensic. And sometimes, when you are then joining a neuropsych lab, but you can still work or collaborate with other lab mentors and do forensic. So usually we have a committee then with a chair. This is usually related to your research group. And then you have two co-chairs or members, and these could be from other labs or are usually from other labs. And so I think we are very encouraging to collaborate along the labs and with different topics, because your lab mentor might be not skilled in all fields, but so we can combine the strengths here. So I think, and that's some students really like this, the opportunity to do this.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Adam, do you have a question?
Hello, thank you so much for your time, everybody. I had a question about the practicum. Starting in the second year, are there options or ways to do practicum on the pediatric behavioral health emphasis, or is the second year practicum mainly for general experience? And then starting in the third year, when you're applying for the BAPIC, what kind of sites are there for pediatrics?
Well, I will say that for Practicum 2, and I'm going to ask Dr. Richards to talk more specifically about the clinic, but we do have 5 students who go to Kaiser and get primarily child training at Kaiser. And then with respect to more advanced external community placements, we have school sites, we have hospital sites, we have community mental health sites where there are children there. So that there are the Ronald McDonald House. There's just a huge number of sites that can serve families and children. Michael, do you want to talk a little bit about the clinic?
Yeah. So for the majority of students in the PhD program who are training at one of our 3 clinics in Mountain View, what we call the general clinic or community clinic, SJC Clinic Latina, we do have some child clients and teenage clients. So our goal is always to try to match students with a supervisor who works with those populations and try to get a little bit of that experience during that second year. So it definitely is possible. You'll get a higher proportion of those clients later on when you go into those more specialized sites. But at our clinic, we do work with kids, teenagers, young adults, older adults. We also do some couples therapy and family therapy at times too. So if you have interest in those areas, those are also a possibility during that second year. And we are just always kind of doing our best to identify your interests and match those to the clients that you'll be seeing throughout that training year. So it is, definitely a part of what we do at the clinics at PAU.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Joseph?
Hi, yeah, I'll try to be quick because I see we have a lot of questions, but I was hoping somebody could speak to how PAU prepares their students for a conference type environment. Just being a big sort of end goal for research for a lot of people is being able to present their work, and I'm wondering how PAU supports their students through that process, how they prepare them for an environment like that where they're working with people who are both above and sort of below their pay grade.
So I would say that within each lab, often students are presenting at conferences. I think that's what you're asking about. The faculty advisor will work with students to prepare those presentations, whether it's a poster or an oral presentation or a symposium of some sort. The program does have, in terms of support, it does have a conference travel fund that's available to students who are presenting at conferences to help offset some of the costs of attending a conference. As you know, it's not cheap to go to conferences. We also encourage students to, volunteer at conferences, which is a really great way to immerse yourself a little bit more in the association where you're presenting. And some faculty may also have some funding available to support students. The other way that they support students is by co-presenting with them as well, and working with them and the other students in the lab who might be presenting as well. I don't know if other faculty want to add specific ways in which you might support students in your lab.
Yeah, we are doing a lot lately. So with presentations, we had 2 years in the row at INS. So this is the International Society for Neuropsychology. So our students won the student awards. I was very proud of it. We put a symposium together for APA. So we are yeah, very much, because I encouraging students to go to conferences because of social networking and yeah, getting experience also in presenting and seeing what is new in the field of what their research are and making connections. So yeah, so I really highlight this. It's a very important part of our work.
Great. You, Dr. Schulte. We have about 8 minutes left, so we're going to try to spend maybe 1 minute per question. Okay, Skylar.
Hi, my name is Skylar. My pronouns are she, her. I have a specific question for Dr. Cordova about the early intervention clinic. I'm curious to learn more about, what early interventions your team is currently investigating, and/or whether you do any work with children or families on kind of early adverse experiences and childhood trauma.
Yeah, so the name is a little bit confusing in that we are not doing early intervention with children, but many of the students in my lab are interested in ACEs and early life trauma and its impact on adults. So we have a lot of different research projects where students are looking at, just as an example, we had a student look at ACEs in the Latinx population and their association with eating disorder symptoms later. And so that's kind of an example of the kinds of research projects. From a clinical standpoint, that we have a study where we're treating recent trauma survivors using components of evidence-based therapies like prolonged exposure, cognitive processing therapy. We have a lot of people referred to our research study that have had a traumatic loss. So we also do a lot of work with CBT for complicated grief. So those are the main things that we're doing. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Sarah, did you have a question?
Yeah, hi. Thank you. My question is, while we're waiting to hear from the program about our acceptance, is there a chance that we can volunteer with any of the faculty to work like remotely on writing or abstracts? Is there any chance to volunteer like till we get into the program?
I think it really depends on that particular faculty who you might be interested in and the projects that they have available and what your interests are and your availability. So I would encourage you to reach out to, if there's a particular faculty. I'm also happy to connect you if that would be helpful. But I think it really depends on the work that they're doing and their availability, and also your availability and interests.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Lauren?
Hello, my name is Lauren. I apologize for the camera technical difficulties that I'm having, but I was wondering how you would describe your mentorship style at PAU, especially when navigating early research setbacks or just the challenges that naturally come from the early days of really working hands-on with clinical experience.
Great question. I'm going to invite one of our other faculty. I feel like I've been answering a lot of the questions, but I don't know if any one of our other faculty would like to answer that.
I can go.
Yeah.
I think we're all different, right? I think we all have different mentorship styles, and I think part of the benefits of the program are that you can find your faculty mentor and apply to their lab based on the fit of mentorship style. I'm quite hands-on and meet with my students very regularly. I do that with my first year advisees as well, and sort of collaboratively troubleshoot things that might be difficult for you, whether that's sort of managing all of the deadlines that are coming in or sort of work-life balance, whatever it is, right? And so I think we all very much care about our students and our fantastic mentors. I think I speak for the whole faculty in that, but I think we all differ in our specific mentorship styles.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Palzer. Alfred?
Yes, thank you so much for having the info session. I wanted to ask if someone can speak a little bit more about how the program helps students branch out in terms of working in different settings or populations, or vice versa. If you figure out what you want to work or the specific population you want to work with, how they help structure so that you gain more expertise in that area.
I mean, I guess it depends on which direction or which settings or populations you're wanting to branch out into. I think that faculty in general are very supportive of trying to find opportunities or networking with their networks so the students can make connections with other areas. I think if it's within a clinical or research setting, those structures are somewhat in place to help support students in those directions. But I think it just depends in which direction. But I've always seen faculty be very supportive of helping connect students to different settings and opportunities as they become available. I can just, as an example, I've connected my students with colleagues of mine at other institutions where they've been hired or volunteered on projects that I'm not involved in at all. But I know that it fits their interests. And then from there, that in some cases has led to other opportunities, again, that I'm not involved in at all, but it's more aligned with what the student wants to do. So that's just one example. I don't know if others have input, and maybe we could put it in the chat for that.
I would say that one thing that assists students with this is being proactive and reaching out to mentors. One of the advantages of a larger program like this is that we've got lots of faculty who have lots of different areas of interest. And so you're not just pigeonholed into one thing. That being said, with a fair amount of faculty and a relatively larger cohort than the typical 7-person PhD cohort, you want to also be reaching out and being proactive. I think that helps a lot in terms of really making your way smoothly through the program. So the more you get excited and reach out, the more support you're going to get.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks for that question. Waverly? And we have 1 minute left, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll try and be quick. Hello, all. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. It's lovely to see you all. I just wanted to ask, and this may be directed a little more to Dr. Cordova, but in terms of doing research and having connections to hospitals, emergency departments, more high acuity settings, are those relationships already existing? I know on the clinical side, I think there's an association with Kaiser. I was just curious if there were any other associations if it came to research or the clinical side as well.
Yeah, I think this area with UCSF, Stanford, and other private hospitals is a place. There are a lot of health psychology opportunities. Santa Clara Valley Med also is another place where a lot of clinical work is happening. So I think there are great opportunities, both clinical and research wise. Yeah, and some of those come from practicum, some of those come from research outreach.
Okay, and if any of you need to log off, please feel free to do so. But we have one more question. We'll think Monica's been patiently waiting.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So my last question is, what are the main challenges or bottlenecks that your current labs are experiencing now? And if this next cohort can make that positive difference, what are some of those things that we can do? Thank you.
Great questions. Can I ask the faculty? Dr. Tsai, we haven't heard from you. Would it be okay for you to kick us off on answering that question? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. And I for my lab, I welcome students a contribution, and then kind of a lot of feedback and the communication about the need and how to better
Questions about the prerequisite courses. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, so okay. So yeah, so just like a lot of kind of mutual learning. Yeah.
Hey, thank you. Anyone else have anything to add to Dr. Sai added? Dr. Schulte, I saw you unmute. If you're going to say something.
Oh, no, that was more by accident, but I think I was very much looking forward to students coming, and we are welcoming them in the environment. And it's kind of, you have to think about, it's kind of joining a family. And for me, it's very much important to, build this belonging. And I think this is then catering to all your interests. And then we identify projects on every time, on every phase where it's important for you. And I think when you are coming, you bring up your new ideas, your new experiences from your generation, maybe your interest in technology, AI, or whatever, which might be a new impact which on to the labs. So I think I'm more curious what you can bring in. So, and I'm new brains, new ideas. So that's kind of every time very exciting. So I'm really much looking forward to this.
Yeah, I was just thinking that one of the challenges that some of the students that I've worked with is that they really want to do big projects. And my role is to help them narrow it down so that they can graduate, right, in time. So I think that's a challenge that we're constantly working on. It's a great project, really innovative idea, taps into the curiosity that Dr. Pulzer mentioned. But, I want them to graduate sooner rather than later. And so really tailoring it down and really narrowing down the focus can be a challenge sometimes for some students. Millicent, did you have a question or a comment?
Yes, so I thank you very much for this opportunity for us to ask questions. I'm sorry about my camera this evening. Please, my question is about the prerequisite courses. For me, I'm from a public health background, and so I quite remember during my undergrad year, I took some psychological courses and also sociology courses. But I think it's been more than 5 years now. So I don't know what specific criteria that you use to select for a prerequisite and how many years range should that prerequisite fall in?
Yeah, so the 3 prerequisite courses are, and they may have different titles at your institutions, but it's abnormal psychology or psychopathology, it might be called, biopsychology, biological psychology, and then also a statistics and research methods class. Those are the 3 prerequisites. And again, they may be called different things or titled different things at your institution, but our admissions team is really fabulous, and they review the courses and in some cases the syllabi associated with your courses to ensure that they meet those prerequisite criteria. In terms of the timeline, Dr. Arnaud or do you know what that timeline is in terms of?
There's not a timeline. There is a grade requirement of B or above. The concern is not so much that you have a current knowledge, because the half-life of any psychology degree is 4 to 5 years. It's more, do you show the ability to do well in those areas? Because these are the most challenging areas we've found that students have difficulty with. So we just want to see a readiness to learn the current material, not so much what did you learn 20 years ago in your undergrad program.
Thank you.
Please, can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
So can I send my transcript for review before I submit my application because of the prerequisite requirement?
I think that might be a question for admissions. Atlanta or Pew, are you still on here? Since they receive all of the applications prior to us receiving them.
Yes, thank you. Melissa, let's go ahead and we can connect offline so we can talk more specifically about your circumstance. I'll go ahead and drop my email in the chat and we can connect offline. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we're 6 minutes past the hour. Thank you so much for being here, everyone, faculty, and all of you potential applicants and maybe applicants who have already submitted your application, and for all of your really thoughtful questions. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have additional questions. As I mentioned earlier, we have a couple more of these scheduled, and I put those in the chat. So please feel free to come back for those future ones. And I believe they're being recorded. So if there's one that has passed that you weren't able to attend, please feel free to review the recordings. We also had a couple student panels in the last few weeks, which I believe those were also recorded if you wanted to hear from students in the program. So thank you so much. Best of luck with this process, everyone. And we look forward to meeting and potentially getting to know some of you in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.